What's up, horror fans? It's Danny from the Lacercast, and I am here with a review of David Lynch's The Elephant Man. I got to see this tonight at the IFC Center. They have been showing the movies of David Lynch since January when he passed away, and I was there for Mulholland Drive. I posted a video where actors Naomi Watts and Justin Theroux were there to give their thoughts about the life and the filmmaking of David Lynch and to pay their respects. Pete and I have done several David Lynch reviews so far this year. We have covered Mulholland Drive. We have covered Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, which we basically spend most of the time talking about Twin Peaks as a whole. And later on this year, we are going to cover Twin Peaks: The Return, which is streaming on Paramount Plus. Before this year, David Lynch was a blind spot for me, and I made a commitment to myself. One of my resolutions for New Year's was that it's not going to be about quantity of movies in 2025. It's going to be about the quality of both movies and shows that I take in. And I finally wanted to get through some of the directors who I consider, all-time greats, many by reputation, because they are, like I said, blind spots for me. And probably none more than David Lynch, with the exception of Blue Velvet and Eraserhead and Elephant Man, which I saw both of those movies way back, renting them on VHS. So we're talking when I was maybe between the ages of 13 and 16, which is sadly over 25 years ago. Yeah, I'm an old man. I'm going to be 43 in May. Getting to see The Elephant Man on the big screen was an incredible experience. I'm so glad that I went because, to be honest, I didn't remember much of this movie. I remember parts of this movie, but I almost feel like the parts I remember are the famous parts that you see in like a David Lynch compilation video or clips on YouTube. I am a human being, I am not an animal. Those moments, like, I knew those are coming, but I honestly did not remember so much of this movie. And I was left awestruck walking out of this film. This movie, I don't believe, is streaming anywhere. I found my remote. I'm gonna look to see, but I remember a couple of when I first started to get into David Lynch, I looked it up and it was not streaming out anywhere. In fact, the only Elephant Man that is streaming is a 1982 version starring Kevin Conway and Philip Anglim, not the 1980 version directed by David Lynch, starring John Hurt as John Merrick, the Elephant Man, and Anthony Hopkins as Frederick Treves, the doctor who takes him in. This movie, first of all, if you've seen The Elephant Man, this is not a horror film. But it is so clear that David Lynch was inspired by some classic stories of horror when making this. There are obvious odes to Frankenstein, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, Freaks. It is in stunning black and white. Whenever anybody younger than me, usually, says, "Oh, I can't watch this movie, it's in black and white," I watch a movie like The Elephant Man, and I think the exact opposite. I cannot imagine watching that movie in color. It is such a gorgeous film to watch in its black and white. And Lynch starts the movie and closes the movie with his usual surrealist, almost nightmarish, dreamlike visions. And then the 2 hours in between the very beginning and the very end are a very narrative structure film, but with those David Lynch touches throughout. I absolutely love the beginning of this movie where you don't just throw the Elephant Man on screen. He is kept in the shadows. He's kept behind curtains. He's kept in the dark. And the shot composition by cinematographer Freddie Francis. This is a 2-time Oscar winner. One before The Elephant Man in 1961 for Sons and Lovers. One after for the 1989 film Glory. It's shocking to me that he did not get an Oscar nomination for this film. This film was very much recognized by the Academy Awards. It was nominated for 8 Oscars. It won 0 of them. Listen, I love Ordinary People. I think Raging Bull is a monumental piece of cinema, and I'm not going to argue that Robert De Niro did not deserve Best Actor, but I will say John Hurt winning would not have been highway robbery at all. John Hurt is unfucking believable in this movie. The amount of makeup and the amount of prosthetics that he is wearing to portray John Merrick, the Elephant Man, and for him to still be able to emote and to act both physically and emotionally is just unbelievable. His performance is so good. He was nominated for the Oscar, and it is shocking. It may be shocking to know that one of the Academy Awards, of the Academy Awards that this was nominated for, Best Makeup was not one of them. And the answer to the question why is because that Oscar did not exist yet. In fact, Rick Baker, the very first recipient of Best Makeup for American Werewolf in London, would win that award 1 year later. And in part, it is because of the outcry that there was that the makeup artists were not recognized. Christopher Tucker designed the makeup. Wally Schneiderman, I believe his name is, Wally Schneiderman, did the makeup application. Had a Best Makeup Oscar been around, it would have been this versus Raging Bull. And look, you can give Robert De Niro the Oscar for Best Actor, but you cannot give anyone else the Oscar for Best Makeup over what they do in this movie and the way they transform John Hurt into John Merrick. It is just an absolutely stunning transformation. David Lynch was nominated twice, once as a co-screenwriter along with Christopher DeVore and Eric Berggren, and for Best Director. Like I said, the film did not win any of those Oscars. It did win Best Film at the BAFTAs, the British Film Awards. And my favorite little note about this movie is that Mel Brooks was the executive producer, and his wife, Anne Bancroft, is in the film, and he encouraged David Lynch to direct, and he encouraged this film to be in black and white, and he purposely left his name off the movie because he knew that if moviegoers saw Mel Brooks presents The Elephant Man, that they would not incorrectly assume that this was a laugh-out-loud comedy. In the way of Young Frankenstein, in the way of Blazing Saddles, etc. So he was a silent executive producer, uncredited, and God bless Mel Brooks for doing that, because it's crazy that this is David Lynch's second feature film after Eraserhead. And Eraserhead was a hodgepodge of nightmare imagery, surrealist craziness that he kind of puts together over the years. And to go from that to this, which is a truly classic film. Like I said, I'm covering this on a horror movie channel. It is very obvious that there is horror in The Elephant Man, that there is homages paid to the classic horror of the past. And to me, the big three that jump out are obviously Frankenstein, The Hunchback of Notre Dame, and Freaks. But this is a human story that asks some truly deep and poignant questions. There's an amazing scene with Anthony Hopkins as the doctor where he just sits at home and his wife is asking him, what's the matter? What's the matter? And he thinks that he has basically become a carnival director and that he is treating Merrick the same way that his abusive carnival director did, because he's effectively turned Merrick into a celebrity medical patient. It's crazy that here we are, 150 years later, and doctors are still, according to sources I've read, they think that it was either a neurofibromatosis type 1 or Proteus syndrome, or a combination of the two, that they are not 100% sure. And watching this movie in the black and white, watching this movie with, these characters asking these questions, finding the humanity. You have these two sets of characters. You have the carnival, you have Bites, the carnival guy who wants to use and abuse Merrick for his own gain. You have this security guard who's collecting money to let in these strangers to get looks at the Elephant Man. And then you have genuinely good people doing genuinely good things and looking past the deformity, looking past the disease, and seeing the human being that John Merrick was. And there's times that there's moments throughout this movie that will bring tears to your eyes. It's just an absolutely incredible film. I saw it at the IFC Center in Manhattan. It is still playing there throughout this week. If you live in the New York City area, you should try to get there and see it. Like I said, it's not streaming anywhere. I also did some shopping at the new Night Owl Video in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. So if you can't make it to the movie theater, you can go to Night Owl Video in Williamsburg and you can get a copy of The Elephant Man and many other David Lynch films on 4K, on Criterion, on Ultra, Blu-ray, etc. And add it to your collection on physical media. David Lynch's The Elephant Man. If you haven't seen it, go out, check it out. It is an all-time classic, worthy of David Lynch and worthy of us covering on a horror channel, even though it is not really a horror movie. And if you have seen The Elephant Man, let me know what you thought. and Pete and I will be back with more David Lynch reviews very soon.